This is Jonathan Yates with Wine Channel Television. Welcome to the Bipartisan Appeal of Wine from Capitol Hill with Representative Salud Carbajal from Mid-Coast, California. Congressman, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. Good to be here. And we call ourselves the Central Coast.
Central Coast. Well, American Express just reported that Central Coast of California is the growing destination for spring breakers this year, up 66% from last year. What makes your district so special?
I think we have everything, from the coastal areas, the beaches, to the mountains, a number of great universities, two very well-known public universities, UCSB and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. We have a number of bases. We are probably one of the only areas in the country where you could go skiing the same day and then go to the beach and surf.
So let me ask you a question. I'm from the D.C. area, and for a lot of people on the East Coast, you have to do the Cali thing to get it out of your system. What makes the whole state of California so special that it draws people from around the world?
Well, like I said, I think we have it all. My district is a microcosm of the entire state, but we have deserts, we have mountains, we have lakes, we have the ocean, the coastal area. The weather is unique in that, for the most part, we have extraordinary warm weather, and of course, the people.
And so how does that contribute to the world's greatest wine industry now?
Well, we were talking about weather. My district, the Central Coast, has so many microclimates that it creates the perfect conditions that the Central Coast can grow basically all grapes and produce all wines, and this is year-round.
What exactly is a microclimate?
A microclimate is a subclimate within the overall climate in the region. And pretty much the best way that I could describe it is like when you go to Hawaii, you're traveling from one end of the island to another, and you could tell the difference every so many miles. And in our community, like I said, there are so many different microclimates that it lends itself to creating different and growing different types of grapes in different microclimates.
So I think when most people think California, they think high-tech community, they think Hollywood, they think hitting the wineries. So why do you serve on the Agricultural Committee?
Well, it's the #1 industry in my district. Agriculture is a huge industry in California. We mostly grow specialty crops. In my district, we have strawberries, broccoli, wine grapes, cut flowers, avocados, a little bit of cattle, beef, and a little bit of citrus.
And so how are you able to take care of the wine industry from serving on the Agricultural Committee here in Congress?
Ensuring that we continue to provide crop insurance, that we continue to do research and provide marketing opportunities. The specialty crops throughout the United States, but mostly in California, have gotten a lot more attention in recent farm bills, making sure that the farm bill is considerate of the needs of California agriculture.
So I know you're very strong on the environment and have done a lot of good work in that area. What have you done to help make the wine industry have less of an impact on the environment?
Well, I've served in local government before I came to Congress, and making sure that there was a balance in ensuring that the wine industry was not overregulated was of prime importance to me, and I did a lot to ensure that that was the case. But also working with agriculture and the wine industry to make sure that they have the proper labor supply that they need. Right now, there is a huge need for more labor and consistent, sustainable labor. So making sure that we move comprehensive immigration reform that addresses the labor issue. Another issue that I've worked on for many years is water issues. California and my district have experienced a historic drought. And it wasn't until recent years that we started getting more rain that has really helped us come out of that drought. But those are issues that I've worked on that really have gone to making sure that our ag industry and the wine industry can thrive in our community.
So what did you do to help the wine industry and the agricultural community overall survive the drought?
Well, what I did was making sure that we were working as a region to come up with regional solutions to ensure that our overdraft basins didn't continue to be overdraft, that we complied with state law, and that we came up with plans locally to make sure that we were clear where our water would come from should we continue to deplete our water supplies.
You know, most people, when they think of California, they don't think that it has a business-friendly environment, but you have over 100 wineries just in the San Luis Obispo area alone. So what have you done to make it so that the wine industry can boom there?
Well, I think for starters, making sure that we are supportive of local land use laws so that agriculture could continue to thrive and continue to exist as we know it. There are farming laws that I think sometimes we take for granted, but making sure that they continue to be robust, continuing to be, for example, the berries in our area needed to expand their berry hoops. When I was in local government, I worked to ensure that they had access to continue to use that practice in a way that helped the industry. But just making sure that we are considerate of the needs of agriculture are really important.
What made you first decide to run for office?
For local office or Congress?
Local office.
Well, I was working already in one of the supervisor's office as chief of staff to the 1st District supervisor. And after that supervisor decided to move on, I was encouraged to run for office. And after much evaluation and looking at the good that I could do for the diverse constituency that I would be representing, I thought it was something noble and something very important to continue. And I did run for office and served in local government 3 terms, and then the opportunity to serve in Congress and to continue my public service, but on a bigger scale, to work here at the federal level was something that I thought was a very important role that I could pursue.
Your service to your country started long before that. What made you join the Marine Corps?
Well, you know, I immigrated to this country when I was 5 years old, and I had a brother that served in the Marine Corps. He was somewhat of an influence, but just, you know, as an immigrant, you come to appreciate the great opportunities that this country provides, and I wanted to make sure that I was giving back and being patriotic. And so I stepped up, joined the Marine Corps, and it was a great, great opportunity to serve my country.
Now, the Marine Corps has a saying that every Marine a rifleman. What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means is that when you go through boot camp as a Marine, basic training, everybody is trained on the same elements of utilizing an M16, basic combat, basic infantry knowledge and weapons. So all Marines are basic infantrymen and women at the very core. Then obviously they move on to whatever military occupational skills that they pursue, be it a helicopter pilot, a mechanic, a mortarman, as I was in the Marine Corps, and that's what all Marines get to do. After basic training, everybody's the same, but then you move on to your military occupation skill.
You know, when I think of your district, I think of beautiful beaches in Santa Barbara and up the coast, great wineries, but I don't think of, you know, the Marine Corps or the military service. Yet you've never lost an election in your district. How did they treat your background in the Marine Corps and your membership on the House Armed Services Committee?
Well, I think they're great. We do have Vandenberg Air Force Base, Camp Slow, and Camp Roberts in my district. And there are many, many veterans that live on the Central Coast. And I think we have a district that appreciates our men and women in uniform. And the district has always been very supportive of our military personnel. Certainly, I know that they've been very appreciative of my service and other veterans that live in the area. So
let me ask you one last question. My cousin was a fighter pilot. He flew the Stealth for the 415th Air Tactical Squadron. Jay's bandit handle was Jake the Snake, and the 415th was called the Night Stalkers. He always said the best thing about being in the Air Force was that when the Air Force would build a new base, they put the golf course in first and then the runways next. What was the best thing about being in the Marine Corps?
I think it was the camaraderie. It's the esprit de corps that exists in the Marine Corps. We are a tight-knit group of men and women that take our job very serious and are proud to be Marines because of the shared experience that we have going through basic training and what the organization means for our country and our military. Let me just share that recently we had a bipartisan exchange. I went to my Republican colleague Don Bacon's district, and Don Bacon came to my district, Representative Bacon. And he was an Air Force one-star general before he joined coming to Congress.
And he now represents Nebraska?
He now represents Nebraska. When I visited his district, I went to go visit Offutt Air Force Base. When he visited my district, we went to Vandenberg Air Force Base, as well as some of the wineries.
I was going to say, I'm guessing you spent more time at the wineries in your district.
It was equal time. But I remember ribbing him and telling him that exactly what you said, that the Air Force always cites the golf course first. then the military base second.
You know, in addition to having great wine, your district also has a number of great craft breweries too. And there's an old saying, it takes a lot of great beer to make a great wine. You know, I'm not much of a craft beer kind of guy. I think I had a Sam Adams Light at a baseball game once, and show you how long ago it was. I think the Orioles won and Chris Davis hit a home run. But how are the breweries doing so well in your district when you have the best wineries in the world?
Well, like I said, we have it all. Great craft breweries, great wineries. I was proud to co-sponsor a bill in the last Congress that provided tax credits to our wine and craft brewer companies, and eventually it got folded into a larger piece of legislation. So, you know, just making sure we're supportive is a big deal to our wineries and our craft beers companies in the area.
Now, when I had a congressman from Washington on the show, he represents the Yakima Valley. He said the great thing about representing a wine industry there was they work so closely together. Do you work closely together with the California wine industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's, you know, how can you not work together with folks who sell wine? You can't go to a function without having great wine being served in California. And I always look here in D.C. and everywhere I go to make sure that California, and more importantly, Central Coast wines are being served.
So do you have an institutional value in that you can visit a Central Coast winery and say it's legitimate constituent casework?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can't ask for better casework than that.
So when you go back to the district and you're working with the wineries, do they appreciate how hard you work in Washington, D.C., and what goes into the laws to protect the wine industry so it can grow?
I think they do. I go out of my way to make sure that I consistently hold roundtables, that I'm hearing out the industry to make sure that I'm understanding what's important to them, be it immigration, water, whatever the issues might be, and making sure that their needs are being met in my representing them here in Washington. It's a two-way communication street, and I make sure that I do my part.
And you know, University of California, Davis, they have one of the best wine programs in the world, if not the best. What did you guys do from the, the Santa Barbara Board of Supervisors and others to provide the education for the wine industry to blossom?
Well, I think, well, first of all, I would say the wine industry has been resilient and extraordinary in being successful on their own. But I think we're lucky that we have two great universities in the area. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, in particular, has a great agriculture program that I think rivals UC Davis.
Really?
And I think it's been very, very good for the region.
It's kind of a question. So what is your favorite California wine memory? Coming from that area, there must be so many. Can you just pick out one or two to share with us?
I will tell you, my fondest memory in recent times was my wife, who does not drink, recently went to a grocery store that was unfortunately closing. And she called me and she said, all the wines you like are on sale, 50% off. And she doesn't drink wine, but she knows what kind of wines I appreciate. She came home with a case of extraordinary, exceptional wines from the Central Coast. And I think they're all gone now. So.
Well, Congressman, it's time to cork this episode of the Bipartisan Appeal Wine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jonathan.
This is Jonathan Yates saying cheers from the Wine Channel Television. Thank you.